Have you ever stopped to think about the life of a building? I mean, not just when it was built, but its whole story, stretching across centuries. Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers of one of the most incredible structures in all of Rome, the Baths of Diocletian. We're going to uncover its amazing, almost unbelievable 1700-year journey from a giant public spa to a church, a scientific instrument, and so much more. So, let's dive into the story of this eternal megastructure.
First things first. To even begin to understand this place, you have to wrap your head around its insane scale. When it first opened way back in 306 AD, it was designed to hold 3,000 people, all bathing at the exact same time.
And that wasn't just for a special occasion. Nope. Every single day, up to 10,000 Romans would walk through its doors. This wasn't just some building. It was, quite literally, the pulsing heart of the city's social life.
I mean, the sheer size of places like this was so immense that long after the Roman Empire was gone, people would look at these ruins and just couldn't believe that normal humans had built them. The only explanation that seemed to make any sense, it had to be the work of giants.
So let's be really clear. The Terme di Caracalla, as it was called, was never just a place to get clean. It was this enormous public complex, basically a city within a city, totally designed for leisure, for business, and for community.
And to really put that scale into perspective, you have to compare it to its really famous predecessor. Now, a lot of people have heard of the Baths of Caracalla, a truly massive building in its own right. But Diocletian's complex, built almost 100 years later, was way bigger. This was the absolute peak of Roman imperial ambition and their engineering genius.
And yeah, beyond the hot, warm, and cold pools, this complex had everything a Roman might want for a day out. There were 2 huge gymnasiums, a couple of libraries for studying, rooms for business meetings, and these beautiful gardens you could just stroll through. And right at its heart was the Natio, a massive outdoor swimming pool. Just to give you an idea of how big we're talking, picture 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools, side by side. Yeah, that's the kind of scale we're dealing with here.
Now, for centuries after the fall of Rome, the baths just lay in ruin. But that wasn't the end of its story, not even close. Because in that ruin, one of the greatest geniuses in history saw an opportunity for something completely new. That genius was, of course, Michelangelo. In the last years of his life, he took on this incredible project: turn the main hall of the old cold baths, the frigidarium, into a church. But here's the brilliant part. He didn't tear it down. He built inside of it, preserving the magnificent Roman structure for us to see today. But he had this huge challenge. See, over more than 1,000 years, the ground level of Rome had slowly risen, burying the original floor of the baths under meters of dirt and debris. Michelangelo's solution was pure genius. He just raised the new church floor by 2 meters. Now, this buried the bases of the original 100-ton granite columns, but it saved the columns themselves. It's wild to think about. It means the soaring space we see today is actually shorter than what the Romans experienced. But the building's reinvention didn't stop there. Its massive, incredibly stable structure made it perfect for some very surprising new jobs.
Okay, this might be the most fascinating twist in the whole story. The building's incredible age and stability gave it a purpose that absolutely no one could have seen coming.
The secret is all about a simple principle, the camera obscura. Basically, if you poke a tiny hole in the wall of a dark room, you can project a perfect image of the outside world onto the floor or wall, in this case, an image of the sun. And that's exactly what they did. In the early 1700s, Pope Clement XI wanted a super accurate way to calculate the date of Easter. So an astronomer named Francesco Bianchini turned the entire basilica into a giant sundial. He put a small hole high up in the wall, and now, as the sun passes overhead each day at noon, a little beam of light traces this bronze meridian line set into the floor. The most incredible part? It still works perfectly today, which is just staggering proof of how stable those original Roman walls are.
The building was also just really practical. Over the centuries, popes used its huge, solid halls to store grain and olive oil for the whole city. Later, it served as an orphanage, and then, in 1889, it became the very first home of the National Roman Museum, a role it still plays today.
So, amid all this grand, sweeping history, there's also this wonderfully personal and kind of eccentric story about a man who didn't just visit the ruins, he actually moved in. His name was Moses Ezekiel. He was an American sculptor, a veteran of the Civil War, and somehow, in the 1870s, he managed to set up his home and his entire studio right inside the ruins. It became this famous attraction, a must-see for visitors like Mark Twain. And he lived and worked there for over 30 years until the authorities finally kicked him out to get ready for an exhibition.
And let me tell you, Ezekiel did not go quietly. He was known for his fiery temper, and he famously threatened the authorities, saying he would shoot them where they stand if they tried to remove him. It's just such a vivid reminder that these ancient stones have been tangled up with real, passionate human lives.
So when you look at the Baths of Diocletian today, you're not just seeing one building. You're seeing all these layers of history, one on top of the other, all coexisting in the very same space. Think about it. It's been a Roman social hub, a sacred church, a papal pantry, a scientific marvel, an artist renegade home, and a national museum. Every single one of those identities is written into its walls, making it one of the most remarkable and resilient buildings on the entire planet.
What a building like this teaches us is that great structures are never really finished. They're constantly being reimagined and repurposed. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. After 1,700 years of change, what new life, what new identity is waiting for this eternal megastructure in the centuries to come?